There are very few games that capture my attention as much as Cult of the Lamb has. Now, before buying any game, as most gamers do, I checked out the Steam page. But to my surprise, it really didn't tell me a lot about the game. There was no gameplay trailers, just some random screenshots and animations for the game's DLC. But it was on sale, so I decided to give Cult of the Lamb a chance. And now I'm mad at myself that I didn't buy this game sooner. What the Steam page doesn't tell you is that the game is about being a servant to an old god that grants you powers to do his bidding, and in the meantime grow his flock by going out and doing missions. Now, I say his flock because the game from the start makes it very obvious that you are calling the shots now. It's a very fun concept for a game, and it's done really well. Now, the gameplay itself is split into two main sections. The first is a roguelite? Whatever. The dungeons. The first part is dungeons. It essentially is a bit like Binding of Isaac mixed with Enter the Gungeon, which is really funny because Devolver Digital also published Enter the Gungeon, and the gameplay's pretty fun. There's a dodge, and magic, and relics, and, well, some really good variations of weapons, but it's all really simple, and it isn't too much of a challenge until later in the game. But what makes this game stand out over others in its genre is the second part of its game, your flock. In the dungeons, besides hordes of monsters and bosses, there are resources to gather, items to unlock, and most importantly, followers. These guys you rescue from peril, and then they go back to paradise, or your hub world to put it in gamer speak. Outside the dungeons, you are tasked with managing your flock, building them homes, feeding them, taking care of their needs, all while they give you bonuses on your next run, or allow you to unlock the next tiers of items, or buildings, or weapons. It's less an annoying and more intuitive Tamagotchi system, and it's done so well. They have personality traits, and they fight or become friends, or a whole slew of other things, all while you marry every single one of them, or sacrifice them, or really do anything you need to them. But it's so rewarding to grow your flock and to get new followers. Not only does it allow you to level up in the dungeons, but it's also a nice gameplay loop and a break from all of the god slaying. With other games like Binding of Isaac, where you have to be on 100% of the time, there is no downtime, and there doesn't really need to be for Binding of Isaac, but where Cult of the Lamb lacks in specific builds and specialized runs like Isaac, it makes up in giving you a breather and letting you choose what you want to be doing in the moment. It's really the only roguelike sim that I've ever heard of, and no other game to my knowledge is doing what Cult of the Lamb is doing right now. The art style and the music also really improves upon the experience. The pop, almost hip-hop sound design mixed with the cartoonish and vibrant art style really just brings it all together. And the DLCs. Ooh, baby, don't get me started talking about some good DLCs, because I love to see some good DLCs in a game. When a game like this comes around, it is a miracle if they get one DLC or a regular content updates. But the fact that this game does it, and for really cheap too, just blows my freaking mind. The game itself is $25 USD, and all of the DLC that they have pumped out over the past 2 years are still only $21. And that is an absolute steal for not only the amount of content it offers, but even just for the cool little decoration items they add. This is on top of the most recent DLC, Pilgrim, that they just added, that has a fully interactive comic book. And the content is just amazing to see by the developers, and I hope they continue this into the future. There are so many other things I could talk about too with Cult of the Lamb that this video could be like hours long. But for brevity's sake, there's just a few things I'd like to touch upon. The story and bosses are very engaging and well done, and it really has some clear goals that you love to see. There are also a few mini games that they sprinkled about here and there, and they all really fall short except for Knucklebones. Honestly, Devolver Digital, you guys over there at Cult of the Lamb, put this in its own game and make it multiplayer, and I will spend hundreds of dollars on just this game. It is that good. And I know they didn't like create it. I know it's not a game that they like made up, but it is so addicting in this, and the challenges, and they just added in Pilgrim that you can now face off against your own villagers. So not only is there drinking, but there's also now gambling. So this is just a perfect game. And as not fun as the other mini games are, they are still completely avoidable. So I'll give them a pass this time. The automation of tedious tasks in late game is really nice. There isn't much you need to do other than feed your villagers and take care of their well-being. Purgatory is also a really fun way to add a challenge to the late game that provides more of a rogue-like approach to the game. I like it, and it's fun, and it's really good for those completionists, 100% gamers like myself. Overall, the only bad things I have to say about the game is the repetitiveness, but that didn't come until the very late game, and most games fall into this pitfall. Despite that, I have like 70 freaking hours into this game by the time of recording. I am going to finish this, and I'm going to go right back to playing it. And I bought it in March of this year, and they are still releasing new DLCs and have more planned. I also would like to quickly delve into the old idea noggin for some ideas for future updates. Now, I am not a developer. I am just a guy who loves this game, so take this all with a grain of salt. But if somehow any developer is watching this, it'd be really nice to have your followers be able to repair the things that the drunk followers break, because I swear to God, it gets really annoying, especially when farming Sin, to fix the same lamppost 1,000 times. Secondly, adding more personality to the followers. Now, this may be a me thing, but I really wish there was more traits and more unique ones at that. I really want to feel connected to my followers, and they just don't seem to be unique enough. And the final thing is more levels in the dungeons, or at least different layouts, because it gets to a point where I just know where the enemies are gonna be and just come in swinging at that exact time based off the shape of the room. Just a little variety and maybe some scaling of enemies if you repeat the dungeon in the same run, especially if it's like 2 or 3 times. If you haven't played this absolute masterpiece of a game, I implore you to go do so right now. Don't wait for a Steam sale, because it's worth it full price. Are you going? You gonna go buy the game now? Pause the video, I'll wait, buy the game. Alright, good. Now that we all own this game, these are the types of developers we should be supporting with our wallets. With everything in gaming going on right now, we need more games like Cult of the Lamb. A game with a concise style and art direction that's beautiful to look at and listen, as well as being super fun to play, and you can just get lost in it. A game that keeps you hooked and keeps you coming back and keeps you wanting more. Cult of the Lamb is truly what gaming should be. Also, they had a sex update?